Hello and welcome to this Fright in a Flash YouTube channel. If you like creepy stories, then stick around. This next one is a banger. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like the content. It's greatly appreciated. My name is Evan Mercer, and I've never believed in ghost stories, at least I didn't, until last winter. I work as a rural property surveyor in Western Virginia. Most of my jobs involve hiking through overgrown lots, taking notes, and photographing boundary lines. It's lonely work, but I've always liked the quiet. The job that changed my life came from an old man named Mr. Drayton, who wanted his late mother's land appraised before he sold it. He warned me the old farmhouse on the property had problems, but I didn't listen. I should have. The house sat at the end of a rutted dirt road, half swallowed by the woods. Its roof sagged in the middle, shingles missing like rotted teeth. The porch leaned forward as if the whole house were bowing to the earth. I parked my truck in the clearing and killed the engine. The only sounds were the ticking of the cooling metal and the faint creak of the trees. Even from the cab, I could smell mildew and dust, like wet paper and old bones. Inside, the air felt heavy. Every floorboard whined when I stepped on it, and long curtains moved slightly even though no windows were open. I started my work, photos, measurements, notes, but the deeper I went, the colder it got. That's when I noticed the strings. Thin, almost invisible threads had stretched from corner to corner of the living room, like the remnants of an old spider web. Only they weren't sticky, they were hair. Long, brittle strands of gray hair, twisted and knotted across the ceiling beams. I backed away. My light caught something else, a shape up near the ceiling, but when I looked directly at it, it was gone. Later that afternoon, I met an older woman who lived down the road. She was standing by her mailbox, bundled up in a faded flannel coat. "Surveying the Drayton place?" she asked. I nodded. She frowned. "You best finish before dark." I tried to laugh it off. "Why's that?" She looked at the woods behind me. "They say she comes out when the sun drops, the crooked widow." Her tone wasn't playful. She said the widow was once a woman who lived in that house decades ago. Her husband had been a trapper who never came home from the mountains. They say she waited for him every night, pacing the attic until her back bent and her joints twisted from grief. One night she hung herself from the rafters, but when they found her, her body wasn't hanging straight. It was contorted, bent backward, head touching her heels. "Now," the woman whispered, "she walks that way still." I laughed politely, but I couldn't shake the image. A woman bent in half, dragging herself across the ceiling. I decided to stay late to finish measurements before a storm rolled in. Around dusk, fog crept through the trees and wrapped around the house like a shroud. I had one room left to document, the attic. The hatch was stiff. When I pulled it down, a cloud of dust rained over me. The wooden ladder groaned as I climbed. The air up there was wrong, not stale, alive. It moved around me like breath. My flashlight swept across boxes, old furniture, a broken rocking chair. In the far corner, something white dangled from the rafters. A dress, long, yellowed and swaying ever so slightly. Then came a noise, a dry crack like someone bending their knuckles. I turned. From behind the rocking chair, a shape unfolded. Pale skin stretched too tight over sharp bones. Hair hung down in thick, gray ropes that brushed the floor. Her spine bent backwards so sharply I thought it would snap. She was smiling. Not with her mouth, her lips were gone. but with her teeth drawn back in a frozen grimace. When she moved, her bones popped one after another like a chain of firecrackers. She crawled towards me on all fours, but her hands faced backward, her elbows bending the wrong way. I froze. Her voice came next, like the hiss of wind through broken glass. Where is he? I scrambled down the ladder so fast it snapped beneath me, hit the floor, hard rolled, and ran. Upstairs, something thudded. Not footsteps, but the sound of limbs slapping wood. She was crawling across the ceiling. I could hear the dragging of her hair, the crack of her joints, the slow scrape of nails following me down the hall. I ran for the front door, but it wouldn't open. The knob twisted in my hand, refusing to turn. Then from behind me, a whisper, "You'll wait for him too." Her head emerged from the darkness above the doorway, hanging upside down. The rest of her body followed, folding out of the ceiling like a spider dropping from a web. I kicked the door until the frame split and fell into the yard. When I looked back, she was still in the doorway, half in, half out, watching me. Her head tilted to one side with a brittle crack, and she smiled again. I drove until my hands stopped shaking, parked at a gas station 30 miles away. When the attendant saw me, he asked if I'd been in a wreck. My clothes were torn, my face cut from broken glass. I told him I'd fallen in an attic. He didn't believe me. Neither did the sheriff when I filed a report the next day. He said the house had been empty for decades. He said nobody had lived there since Lydia Drayton died. That name stuck with me. Drayton. The same as my client. When I called Mr. Drayton to ask about it, he hesitated before answering. "She was my grandmother," he said quietly. "But she didn't hang herself. She fell, broke her back." I hung up without saying another word. 3 nights later, I woke to a creaking sound. I thought it was just my house settling, until I realized it was coming from the ceiling above my bed. I held my breath. Something shifted in the drywall. Dust rained down in soft trails. Then a whisper. "He's home." I turned on the light. Nothing there. The next morning, I found strands of long gray hair caught in the vent above my bed. It's been 6 months. Every time I close my eyes, I see her, bent, twisted, grinning. I moved apartments, changed my number, stopped taking surveying jobs. But she keeps finding me, once in the reflection of a window, once in the rearview mirror of my truck, once standing in the corner of my room just long enough for her neck to snap backward when I turned on the light. I don't think she's looking for her husband anymore. I think she's looking for me. And sometimes, late at night, when the air gets heavy and I hear the floorboards creak, I know she's close. Crawling along the ceiling above me, whispering that same question through broken teeth. "Where is he?" And I don't dare answer, because I think she already knows.